ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सहस्रशीर्षं देवं विश्वाक्षं विश्वशंभुवं विश्वन्नारायणं देवमक्षरं परमं पदं विश्वतः परमान् नित्यं विश्वन्नारायणं हरिं विश्वमेवेदं पुरुषस्तद्विश्वमुपजीवति पतिं विश्वस्यात्मेश्वरं शाश्वतं शिवमच्युतं नारायणं महाज्ञेयं विश्वात्मानं परायणं नारायणपरो ज्योतिरात्मा नारायणः परः नारायण परं ब्रह्म तत्त्वं नारायणः परः नारायण परो ध्याता ध्यानं नारायणः परः यच्च किञ्चित् जगत् सर्वं दृश्यते श्रूयतेऽपि वा अन्तर्बहिश्च तत्सर्वं व्याप्य नारायण स्थितः अनन्तमव्ययं कविगुं समुद्रेऽन्तं विश्वशम्भुवं पद्मकोशप्रतीकाशकं हृदयं चाप्यधोमुखम् अधो निष्ट्यावितस्त्यान्तेनाभ्यामुपरि तिष्ठति ज्वालमालाकुलं भाति विश्वस्यायतनं महत् सन्ततगुं शिलाभिस्तुलम्बत्याकोशसन्निभं तस्यान्ते सुषिरगुं सूक्ष्मं तस्मिन् सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितं तस्य मध्ये महानग्निर्विश्वार्चिर्विश्वतो मुखः सोऽग्रभुग्विभजन् तिष्ठन्नाहारमजरः कविः तिर्यगूर्ध्वमदशायी रश्मयस्तस्य सन्तता सन्तापयति स्वं देहमापादतलमस्तकः तस्य मध्ये वह्निशिखाणीयोर्ध्वा व्यवस्थितः नीलतो यदमध्यस्ताद्विद्युल्लेखे बभास्वरा नीवारशूकवत्तन्वी पीताभास्वत्यणूपमा तस्या आशिखाया मध्ये परमा आत्मा व्यवस्थितः स ब्रह्म स शिवः स हरिः सेन्द्रः सोऽक्षरः परमस्वराट् ऋतगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः। ओम नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। So we were looking at the Narayana Suktam. So the Narayana Suktam presents Narayana as Sarvakaranam, as the one, it starts with Sahasra Shirsham, as the one who has limitless heads and who has limitless eyes. All the eyes are Narayana's eyes. Like that, Jagat Karanam, one who is all pervading. This is how Narayana is presented. Although Narayana in the Puranas is presented as one who is sleeping on the Ananta, correct, in the Milky Ocean. But here Narayana is presented as Jagat Karanam. Then that same Narayana, then how do we do Upasana of that Narayana? So for that, it was said that the same Narayana, you do Upasana in your own heart, which is like an inverted lotus. Padmakosha pratikashagam hridayam chapyato mukham. Adho mukham means that which is facing down like this. Adho mukham Padmakosha. So like the lotus which is facing upside down, your heart is there. Where is your heart? It is there 12 angulas below your neck and above your navel. Okay, that is where the heart is there. And there you have to do that. Narayana is there. That's how the Upasana you have to do. And how this Narayana is there? In the form of a Jyoti. Okay, this Narayana is the Jyoti who is also spreading through your entire body, through all the nadis. That also was presented, correct? It's like a great fire which is spreading all over your body. That means that consciousness alone is said like this. The awareness, the sentiency pervades all over your body. That sentience, that awareness, that consciousness itself is Narayana. And but that Narayana is still there in a particular place we are doing upasana. Okay, within your body also, although Narayana is all pervasive, we are doing upasana in a particular place. In fact, some characteristics of that flame or fire also is given, like it is the one which is consuming everything which is there in front of it. Okay, agra bhuke, and it consumes and it distributes also. Okay, vibhajan tishtan and all, it is said that aharam vibhajan tishtan is there here. So it is the one which is consuming all the stimulus which is there, all the stimuli in front, including food. Because Bhagavan has said in the Gita also, I am the one who is sitting there. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha. Like that Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, same thing here. In fact, from here only Bhagavan has said there also you can take, because this is Veda. Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be Smriti. But you can see the parallels. The same thing is there. So this fire which is there in you, which is the one which is consuming everything which is there in front of it, and which is also distributing that all over your body, including nourishment. And that is the one which is keeping your body alive, from your head to your toes. Okay, deham apadatala mastakaha santapayati. So it is keeping the body alive, you can say. Tapayati, santapayati literally means keeping it hot or heated, like that. But here we have to take it as alive. And then we saw that there is even amongst all this fire, there is one flame which is there in the middle. Okay, this is a very subtle flame, and it is going up within you. And this flame is like a lightning in the midst of dark clouds. Okay, the clouds themselves are said to be Neela Toyada. Toyada means what? Clouds. Toyada. Toyam means water. Toyada means one which gives water, which are rain-bearing clouds, and that is Neela. Neela means dark color. Here we have to take it. Dark blue also you can take, because sometimes clouds also have different hues. So in between the dark colored clouds, okay, the uh, Vidyul Lekha Iva, it says, correct? Like a lightning in between the clouds. So lightning is like this fire. Your body itself, we have to take it as the cloud. So here the visualization is what? Your body itself is like the clouds. And in between, whatever this fire is burning within you, the fire of consciousness, the awareness, the jyoti, that is like the lightning. Vidyul Lekha Iva Bhaswara, it is all bright, burning very bright. How bright the lightning can be, really bright. Sometimes you cannot even see it with your eyes. It's not good, they say. Like that, it is so bright. It's burning. Everything is burning means what? It's all consciousness again. The awareness is like that. And also further, another interesting analogy is given. Nivara Shukavat Tanvi Pita Bhaswati. So Nivara means you can say rice or even wild rice. And Nivara Shukavat means the rice has something called, biologically they call it on, okay, AWN. So this on is useful for the rice to propagate itself. Okay, once the rice becomes mature, and if it is windy, means this on is like hairs on the rice. In fact, nowadays the domesticated rice does not have too much of this hair which is coming out. Wild rice still has, it seems. So the many of the domesticated rice does not have the on, but that on, wheat also has that. Rice, wheat, different grains, they all have that hairy. Even grass has it, because that's how they just go all over the place. It spreads with that hair. It can just go in the wind. Correct. It can float. Now that is also like a streak, yellow streak. It will be there. So this flame is again compared to that yellow streak which is there on this rice. The Vrihi Agra, we say that the top part of the paddy in that plant, the awns are all there. That is all yellow color, and it shines like that. What this flame which is there in you, and it is Anu Upama also. It is Sukshma. Anu means here it is similar to an atom. Atom means what? It is all Sukshma. Anu is Sukshma because even in our Vaisheshika Darshana, the Anu cannot be seen with your eyes. So they say Paramanu is not visible to the naked eyes. Paramanu comes together, two Paramanus come together and become Dvanuk. And three Dvanuks come together and become a Tranuk, they say. Then only it becomes visible. Like that here, Anu Upama means what? It is Sukshma. The flame itself is not a physical flame. Understand that. It is the consciousness, the awareness, and this Sukshma, which is there in your body. It is subtle. It's a subtle flame. So that's where you have to do upasana of this Narayana. Narayana is there right in your body, burning as this light of consciousness in your heart. Narayana is the Antaryami of everyone. So this Narayana, now you do upasana. Narayana is there in me, in my body, in my heart. Narayana is the flame which is burning. Narayana is the flame of consciousness, awareness, which is there in my body. So here you can see further what tasyaha shikhaya madhye parama atma vyavasthitaha. So this Paramatma, Narayana, who is nothing but Param Brahma, is the one who is there in the middle of this flame. The flame, again at the top of that flame, in fact, in the middle of the top of the flame, tasyaha, whatever this Agni which was talked about here, Vanni Shikha here, correct? Tasya Madhye Vanni Shikha. Aniyordhva Vyavastitaha was already said. The same thing is said here. Tasyaha Shikaya Madhye. So the Narayana, we do Upasana, but that Narayana is not different from Paramatma. So don't think that since you have located Narayana for Upasana purposes in your heart as this flame which is glowing, don't think that Narayana is located then or limited to that place or anything. Narayana is Paramatma. That was already presented, correct? Sahasra Shirsham. You should not lose sight of that. Narayana is all pervasive. Narayana is the Lord. In fact, Narayana, by Paramatma, what do we really mean? Narayana is the Sarvatma. Narayana is the Atma of all the Devatas also. No, that is being said next. Sabrahma Sashiva Saharisendra Sokshara Paramaswarat. Narayana is not different from Brahmaji, Chaturmukha Brahma. Brahma, the creator, is Narayana only. What about Shiva, the one who resolves everything? Since Shiva also is Narayana. Then what about the one who is sustaining everything as Vishnu, as Hari? Hari also is Narayana only, Sa Harihi. So all the Mumurti we say in Tamil, correct? Trimurtis, all the Trimurtis associated with Srishti, Sthiti and Laya, they are all Narayana only, not separate from Narayana. Also Devendra, the lord of all the Devas, Indraha, also is Narayana. So Narayana is the Atma of all the Devatas. In fact, Narayana is Aksharaha. So Aksharaha, Paramatma, Paramapurusha, all these words, they have a specific meaning. If you read Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter also, the same terminology is used. Ksharas sarvani bhutani kutastokshara uchyate uttamah purushastvanyaha paramatmetyudahritaha. Like that, Paramatma is Param Brahma only, Shuddha Chaitanyam. But Akshara is presented there as what? Ksharas sarvani bhutani. All the beings are all Kshara means what? They all decay, they change with time. Okay, they all also die. All the beings, even Brahmaji has, although the Brahmaji also has some time to live, but his time is very vast. It is cosmic, you can say, because we can, according to our Panchanga, the time of Brahmaji, if we calculate, it comes in billions of years. In fact, some scientists are now saying it almost matches with whatever we think is the age of the universe and all that, which is okay. At least our idea of time is so vast. Only our idea of time comes anywhere near what at least scientists are grappling with now in terms of the cosmology and all the whatever the we have so many things, correct? Physics is there. So all this time, which is so vast, we have that already in our Shastra also. The time is considered to be so vast. So here, this Narayana is Akshara, means what? Narayana is not Kshara, at least that much we can understand. Aksharaha. All the beings are all limited, they are all subjected to time. But Narayana is not Kshara. Narayana does not decay. Narayana does not become old, become aged, subjected to disease, death. All these things are not there for Narayana. Narayana is the Kutastha, unchanging Antaryami, you can say. See, Kutastaha means what? Kute tishtati iti Kutastaha. So you have this blacksmith. Now, blacksmith is working with all types of metal. They heat up the metal, then heat it and shape it. Now, the hot metal, they have to hold it in one place, correct? So, for that only, they have an anvil, it is called in English, correct? So, like the anvil does not change its shape or anything. It is always there in the same form. You keep things on the anvil, hit it and shape it, and all that is happening. But anvil is always there as a constant in blacksmithy. Similarly, this Akshara Purusha, everything is changing in its presence, Akshara Purusha is there as the Sakshi. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Like that also it is said in the 13th chapter also Bhagavan says. Same thing. Kshetra means starting from your body onwards, everything is kshetra only. It's a field. And the knower of the field is Bhagavan only in each and every body. Understand that. Sarva kshetreshu kshetrajnam, you know as me only. I am the one who is the kshetrajna, who is the knower of all these fields. Similarly, Kutastaha Aksharaha means the one who is the unchanging witness of whatever is happening. Everything is happening in the presence of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the witness, does not change in any way. Like even the anvil which is there in the blacksmith, with the blacksmith, okay, the blacksmith workshop. If you go, you can see the anvil. Like that. But here when we say Aksharaha, because even in Bhagavad Gita, the Kshara and Akshara, they are talked about. Then Bhagavan says Paramatma is separate. Okay. So Ksharas Sarvani Bhutani Kutastokshara Uchyate Uttama Purushastu Anyaha Paramatma iti Udahritaha. But the Uttama Purusha is separate from both Kshara and Akshara. Because Akshara also here we have to take Maya Shabalam Brahma along with Maya. With Maya only, Brahman is Jagat Karanam. Karanatvam itself is only with reference to the Karya. So this Akshara is a relative term because whatever we see in the creation, everything is Kshara. Everything decays, everything changes with time, everything is in space-time. Now to differentiate from this, we say that Narayana is Akshara. So it's a relative term. Kshara, Akshara. So that's why we say it is also Akshara means it is Maya Sahitam Brahma. Brahman still looked upon from the standpoint of Maya because you are talking about Akshara with reference to Kshara. The Kshara, the whole world itself is an appearance. With reference to that appearance, we are saying Brahman does not change. But Paramatma, Shuddha Chaitanyam, pure consciousness, Brahman, is still, it transcends all relative categories. Absolute consciousness, that is Brahman. Means there we can't even talk about Kshara or Akshara or witnessed object and witness consciousness. See, Brahman is talked about as Sakshi, Kshetrajnaha and all we say. Kshetrajnam, Kshetra and Kshetrajna also. All that is again relative. With reference to the Kshetra only, Brahman is Kshetrajnam. If there is something to be witnessed, then only you are a witnessing consciousness, witness consciousness. If nothing is there to be witnessed, you are just pure consciousness. You don't even have the status of witness. Is that clear? Subject, object, both are relative. In fact, dependent on each other, mutually dependent. If there is no object, there is no subject also. Since they are mutually dependent, they both are actually dependent on on another independent reality, we have to say. Anything mutually dependent, How did it come about? Means both of them have to be dependent on some other thing which is independent of these things. Then only the mutual dependence we can account for. So that is that Brahman. Brahman is the one which is there, which is the independent reality. That is the Paramatma. So Paramaha also it is said. Aksharaha means Maya Shabalam Brahma. Paramaha means Shuddha Chaitanyam. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Even Maya is only Mithya. To account for the appearance of the world, to account for the appearance of subject object, to account for everything which is there relatively, we have to talk about this Maya. But once you analyze, you can't say where this Maya is. Okay, it does not tolerate any analysis. Vicharam na sahate ya ma sa maya. That which cannot be measured or analyzed. Why? Because if you analyze it, it's not there anymore. You see snake, then you shine a torch on it, then there is no more snake. Where is the snake? It is gone. In fact, it was never there, correct? In all three periods of time, once you see the rope, even while you were seeing the snake, there was no snake. That is the reality. Like that, once you know Brahman, once you know yourself as Brahman, the world is only an appearance. It is there as long as it appears. But even while it appears, it is not there really. That is the understanding. Clear? That's why it need not go anywhere. Understand that. Some people think there is a problem even amongst Vedantins. What is the problem? You are not a jnani if the world appears. This kind of a confusion is there. If you see Dvaitam, then there is no Advaita. This is the kind of argument people make. We say that while seeing Dvaitam also, there is only Advaita. If you see Dvaita, then there is no Advaita, then Dvaita becomes real in fact. You are making Dvaita real. In fact, Dvaita is unreal. While cognizing, in fact, Drishyatvat, Dvaitam Satyam, like this, they argue, some people. Dvaitins themselves argue like that. Dvaitam Satyam, okay, Dvaitam is the truth, reality. Why? Drishyatvat, Ghatavat. So I see the Dvaita is real. Why? Because I see it like a pot. Advaitan says, Dvaitam Mithya. Why? Drishyatvat, same reason. Swapnavat, Rajju Sarpavat. Because I see it, it is Mithya, it is only an appearance. And appearance is not real even while it is appearing. Understand that. You don't have to see one simple thing you understand. To realize that wave is water, ocean is water, you don't have to stop the wave, correct? If you say that only if all the waves stop, I will understand that it is water. Does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense, correct? Even while the wave is there, it is water. Ocean also is water. And wave cannot hide the water. Is that clear? Wave cannot hide the water. Similarly, some people say if you have thoughts in your mind, then there is no Advaita. Stop all the thoughts, then whatever is there, that is Brahman, that is consciousness. Okay. Then what about all the thoughts? Thoughts are all also only the same consciousness only. You don't have to stop all the thoughts to know that you are Brahman, you are the limitless reality. You don't need an empty mind, in fact. My Guruji used to say, what you need is an enlightened mind, not lightened mind. He used to say that. So you don't have to stop all your thoughts. Then you have only empty mind, not an enlightened mind. It is lightened mind. So enlightened mind means you know the reality. That's it. Thoughts are not a problem. In fact, thinking is the nature of the mind. But mind itself is not real. That's what you have to understand. Mind is mithya. Each and every thought is only an appearance, equally a mithya. The whole body is mithya. Your individuality also is a mithya. Understand that. Individuality is not intrinsic to you. You have one individuality in waking. In dream, you can have totally a different individuality. In waking, you are a human being. In dream, you can become some other animal also. We don't know. Some people may have dreamt like that, I think. Or at least you are a different human being. In waking, you are a beggar. In dream, you become a king, let us say. Or in waking, you are a king. In dream, you become a beggar. That also is possible. So your individuality itself is totally different. Or it can be some other species also, we don't know. In waking, you are a human being. In dream, you become monkey. You go the other way around in evolution, let us say. And in deep sleep, there is no individuality. Understand that individuality comes and goes. It's not your reality. It's only an appearance. But all problems are individuals' problem. But you wake up, identify yourself as an individual. All problems are that individual's problem becomes my problem. That identification is the problem. In fact, I am not this individual. That has to be understood very clearly. My reality is not that I am stuck in this body or anything like that. I am not an embodied consciousness limited only to this body. I am the all pervading consciousness in whom space and time are. That is my reality. That is Paramatma. Swarat. That's why Swarat. Swarat means what? Swarat means one who is totally independent, not dependent on anything. Swayam Rajate. One who is glowing in his own glories, not dependent on anything. Independent, totally independent. You are Swarat, really speaking. That is Swarajya. In fact, moksha is called also as Swarajya Siddhi, being totally independent, free from all limitations also. Swarajya. There is even a book called Swarajya Siddhi. Interesting book. So Swarat, because you are not dependent, your reality is not dependent on anything. Pot depends on clay. Clay depends on molecules. Molecules depend on atom. Atom depends on particles. Like that, you can keep on going. But Chaitanyam, self-existent, self-revealing, does not depend on anything. That is you. You are the consciousness which is there always. And that is the continuation here. In fact, with this, one Anuvaka in the Taittiriya Aranyaka is over with this Swarat. This Rik alone, this mantra alone comes as another Anuvaka in the Taittiriya Aranyakam, if you see. Vitagam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Urdhvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Vai Namo Namaha. And traditionally, this Anuvaka also is over with only one mantra. Then this also we chant traditionally, the Vishnu Gayatri. They have also given other Gayatris here, like Nrasimha Gayatri, Garuda Gayatri and all that. But normally whenever we chant Narayana Suktam, we chant this Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. This is the Vishnu Gayatri also we chant along with that. And then we complete it. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So here this Ritam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam. So this Narayana about whom we were talking.
Adi?
But here this Narayana is presented very interestingly. How Narayana is presented here? Narayana is also presented as Uma and Hara. You can see here Maheshwara and Uma. How it is, we'll see. See, Ritam, Satyam, two words are used. See, normally when Brahman is talked about as Satyam, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, like that. That is the Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahman. But here two words are used, Ritam and Satyam. So Sayanacharya, the commentator, says that is because Satyam means many people like Dvaitins are all there. They say that world is also Satyam. Because it is seen, correct? It is perceived. When we say Advaita, we are not denying the perception itself. Understand that. This is another thing. Many people have a problem. They say that if you say Advaita is Satyam, Advaita is the reality, then you are going against sense perception, because sense perception is saying that it is reporting to me something, correct? I am there as an individual, as a subject, and I am knowing some object of knowledge. How can you deny this? This is where the Advaitins make a very interesting point. You have to understand. In fact, the Veda as a pramana, when it reveals Advaitam as Satyam, does not contradict your perception, sense perception. Why? Because sense perception is only reporting to you some object, but it is not the pramana for the reality of the object itself. Understand that. That is the differentiation you have to make. Sense perception is reporting to you some objects, but what is the reality of that object? Sense perception only is showing you snake also on rope. Sense perception only is showing you dream world. Sense perception is only showing you silver on shell. Sense perception is only showing you mirage water. Sense perception is showing you blue sky. So perception is reporting to you something, but it is not the ultimate pramana to arrive at whether whatever you are seeing is real or not. Veda alone is the pramana for that. Understand that. Is that clear? So seeing Dvaita is not a big deal. That's what I am saying. Just because you are seeing it, it is in fact mithya, we say. It's only an appearance. So Veda does not contradict our Laukika Pramanas. Whatever worldly means of knowledge are there, Veda cannot contradict it. Veda's field of revelation is totally different. The worldly Pramanas are revealing to you so many things. Okay, they are also valid within the world itself. That's why we also concede what we call as Vyavaharika Satyam, we say. World is Vyavaharika Satyam. because it appears to be true while it lasts. When you see the snake, it is still true, correct? It produces real effect in you. Fear, you want to run away. It looks true only. Till the time you know. Dream also is like that. Until the time you are in dream, it looks true. So this is the thing you have to understand. So we say there is a Vyavaharika Satyam. Pratibhasika also sometimes we say. So when we analyze the reality itself, three ways we look at it, three terms also we use. Pratibhasikam means what? It is there only till you see it, like snake on the rope. Pratibhasa, Pratibhasikam comes from there. Pratibhasa means what? It is there only till it shines or it is seen. Once you put a torch there, there is only rope, there is no snake. Then it does not, you don't see the snake anymore. It is gone. Once you know the rope, snake is gone totally. It vanishes. But mirage water is not like that. Because it is produced by some phenomenon. They say that water from somewhere gets reflected, or even blue sky, sunrise. That's why we talk about something called Arthadhyasa and Jnanadhyasa. When we talk about superimposition, we say that Arthadhyasa means what? One thing is superimposed on another. And knowing one thing as another also is there with reference to knowledge also. Even that Jnana is gone, like in the case of sunrise or blue sky, you know that sun never rises, the earth only is rotating. Sky is not really blue, it's only an appearance, some scattering of light and all that, Raman effect, let us say. But even after you know the reality, appearances are still there, correct? That is what is called Arthadhyasa. Even when the Jnanadhyasa is gone, with reference to knowledge, there is no confusion now. Your knowledge is clear, but still the appearance continues. In some cases, once you know, the appearance vanishes like rope snake. So you have to make a differentiation there also. That is where we say sopadhika adhyasa, nirupadhika adhyasa also we give the explanation for that. Where the upadhi, there is a conditioning factor. If the superimposition is happening due to a conditioning factor, as long as that conditioning factor is there, the appearance will still be there. But you can know, knowledge wise, you can still be clear, even though the appearance continues. In some cases, there is no upadhi, but only appearance came. And once knowledge is there, appearance also vanishes. That is called nirupadhika adhyasa. And wherever, even after knowledge, the appearance continues, that is called sopadhika adhyasa. And in the case of sopadhika adhyasa, the arthadhyasa continues, the appearance continues, but jnanadhyasa will go with jnanam, with knowledge. This is something you have to understand. So here we do accept there is a pratibhasika satya, means what? Something which is there while you see, but once you know the reality, it goes like the rope snake. That is called pratibhasika. Then vyavaharika means this world of transactions, the relative world, whatever we encounter as the world. We say it is Ishvara Srishti. Pratibhasikam means subjective reality, you can say. Okay, in English, if at all you have to say subjective reality, because it is only true to the person who is seeing it. But even for that person, that appearance will go away once that person knows the reality, the truth. Once that person gains the knowledge. correct knowledge, the appearance vanishes. That is subjective reality, pratibhasikam. But seeing the rope as rope is vyavaharika satyatvam. That is vyavaharika satyam. Objective reality. Because it's all Ishvara Srishti. It will appear, but it is still an appearance. Understand that. It's an appearance on Ishvara, on Brahman. So the Vyavaharika Satyatvam is there. So here, Ritam Satyam, two words are used. The Ritam is qualifying the Satyam just to tell you that Brahman is ultimate reality. Okay, it is not Vyavaharika Satyam also. Vyavaharika, whatever you call as Vyavaharika Satyam also is only an appearance. It is like me seeing a elephant. There is a ferocious elephant. You come, there is a wall. Initially, you don't see anything. You are coming like this across the wall. And then you see there is a ferocious elephant there. You want to start running. In fact, you want to start running immediately. You start running. Then somebody catches hold of you. Says, hey, hey, why are you running? The elephant is there. It looks like a mad elephant. If it comes after me, even though we think that elephants cannot run, they can really run very fast. Understand that they can outrun a human being, normal human beings, unless you are some athlete and all that. Elephants can easily outrun normal human beings. Understand that. In fact, I have run from wild elephants myself because when they have delivered a baby, they are quite aggressive. When we used to study in our Gurukulam, we used to go for walking behind in the forest every day, or at least every Sunday we used to go because then only we had time. We used to go, and once three of us brahmacharis we went, and then we could see a lady, female elephant with a calf also, and it became aggressive. It started aggressively towards us, but we had a head start. But still, we had to run, run really crazy run, okay, to escape. So elephants can run, and this person is running. Then another person who gets hold of him and says, "No, no, that is only wood. It's a wooden elephant. It's a sculpture. Why are you running?" Then the other person turns and he sees, it is only wood. So the elephant covered the wood. If you look at it as elephant, there is no wood. But if you look at it as wood, there is no elephant, correct? There is no elephantness in the woodness. In your understanding of wood, there is no elephant really. But still elephant appears. You can, after understanding it as wood also, you can see the elephant sculpture now. That is the beauty. That is what is this. This whole Srishti is that only. If you look the Srishti as the world, you look at the world as world, then you have a problem. Samsara, fear. You are so limited. Everything is so big in the world. But world is nothing but Bhagavan only. This Param Brahma appearing as this world and this individual. Whatever is there is only one Brahman. In your understanding of Brahman, then there is no world or there is no individual also. Only Brahman is there. Afterwards, even if the world appears, it is like that elephant. It's all only Leela, correct? There is no problem with any appearance. None of these appearances are real. That is why here the Paramarthika Satyam we say. So three Satyams, Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika, Paramarthika means ultimate reality you can say. So Ritam Satyam means that Ritam adjective qualification is there only to say that it is Paramarthika Satyam. Param Brahma is the ultimate reality. Ritam Satyam Param Brahma. But that alone is appearing as Purusha also. Purusham. Purusha means Ishvara. Maya Sahitam. This ultimate reality of Brahman alone is appearing as the creator, as Ishvara, the one along with Maya Shakti. And when you look at it like that, Ishvara is here now presented as Uma Maheshwara, Krishna Pingalam. Krishna means here, our Sayanacharya says, Sayanacharya is the commentator for the entire Veda. Understand that? So when all this class I am teaching you, I refer to the Bhashya of Sayana. So Sayanacharya says Krishna here refers to the right portion of Shiva that is dark in color. The Ardhanarishwara, if you take, one part is dark, Krishna, that is Shiva's side. Because Shiva is dark, all ashes, all that. Then Pingalam, the other side, Uma. Vama Bhaga is Uma, that is yellow, yellowish, bright, fair. That is Uma. One side is Uma. So now this Brahman is presented as Uma Maheshwara again for Upasana. Narayana only is Uma Maheshwara also. Understand that. In our vision, there is no difference. And this Uma Maheshwara, Maheshwara is Mahayogi. So Urdhvaretam means in yoga they have this sadhana. So yoga sadhana, one of the yoga sadhana is what? All your bodily energy also you conserve and you take it all the way up to your Brahmarandhra and hold it there. They say that it has to go through your Nadi, Sushumna Nadi, and then you store everything in the Brahmarandhra. That is called Urdhvareta. So Maheshwara is Mahayogi and he has everything, this Urdhvaretas he is also. All the energy is there in the Brahmarandhra at the top. That's why here Maheshwara is called Urdhvaretaha. Virupaksham also. Normally, two eyes are there. They can be called as Rupaksha maybe because they have a form. Virupa means what? Without any form. That is the third eye. We say third eye of Maheshwara. What is this third eye? Third eye is open means everything is burnt, we say. The third eye is nothing but eye of knowledge. Jnana Chakshu. When you open the third eye, all the names and forms are burnt. What is there is only the reality alone you see. That is the third eye. All the names and forms are gone. If you burn it means they all become ash. Everything is only one reality, which is ash at the end of the day. That is why it is Vibhuti, it is glory. So Virupaksha, Vishwarupaya, one who is also appearing as all the forms. Bhagavan is formless, but Bhagavan is also all forms. That is our vision. We don't say just Bhagavan is formless. Then what about all the forms? You have to account for it. So Bhagavan is Vishwarupa. All forms are Bhagavan's. Whatever you think is good, bad, ugly, good, evil, whatever you think, everything is Bhagavan. That is our vision. And to that, this alone is in fourth case, correct? Vishwarupaya, Namo Namaha, my prostrations again and again. I prostrate before this Bhagavan. Indeed, this Bhagavan alone is Vishwarupa and I prostrate. Why? Why is a particle. You can say indeed, Bhagavan alone is all these rupas. Indeed, Bhagavan is the one who is appearing in all these forms, and I do namaskara again and again to this Bhagavan. So with this, the Narayana Sukta is over. Some Gayatri mantras are there. We'll see that next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
ಗುರುಜಿ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.